The world is not built on justice. It is built on power. And power does not kneel to morality, kindness, or good intentions. It kneels to strength. Those who walk into the world expecting to be rewarded for being good will die confused, used, and forgotten. Because the truth is brutal, people are not drawn to purity, they are drawn to dominance. They don't follow who's right, they follow who's strong. A man with good intentions and a weak presence will be mocked, manipulated, and dismissed. His words, no matter how righteous, will hold no weight, because words alone are wind, unless they come from the mouth of someone who cannot be ignored. And the man who cannot be ignored is not necessarily the smartest or the kindest, but the one who radiates something unshakable, an internal force that others feel before he even speaks. That force is mental strength. When you enter a room, people are already calculating you, consciously or not. They measure your posture, your silence, your presence. If you smile too quickly, if you nod too eagerly, if you speak with too much nervous energy, they categorize you: submissive, agreeable, harmless. And harmless men are never respected. They are used for convenience and discarded when inconvenient. But when a man walks in with calm certainty, not arrogance, but lethal composure, he disrupts the equilibrium. People don't know what he's thinking, and that makes them alert. He doesn't try to impress, and that makes them wonder. He doesn't speak unless necessary, and that makes every word land with weight. Good intentions have no armor. They are exposed to every liar, manipulator, and opportunist the world has to offer. A man who acts out of goodness alone becomes a tool for those who act out of ambition. He will be drained by the needy, guilted by the unworthy, and attacked by the jealous. Not because he is bad, but because he is easy. A person who is too eager to be seen as kind becomes a slave to appearances. He won't speak uncomfortable truths. He won't draw boundaries. He won't fight for himself because he fears being called selfish, cruel, or arrogant. So he shrinks himself, and the world does not thank him. It tramples him. Strength, on the other hand, commands attention without asking. It does not apologize for setting boundaries. It does not explain itself to people who haven't earned the right to question. A strong mind does not bend to the emotions of others. It observes them. It doesn't seek permission, it decides. And that, more than anything, terrifies people. Not because strong men are cruel, but because they cannot be controlled. To build this kind of mind, you must first accept the truth. Your goodness means nothing if you are weak. Your ideas, your values, your vision, they all require the force of strength behind them to be taken seriously. If your mind can be swayed by flattery, guilt, or emotional pressure, it is not strong, it is compromised. You are not a leader, you are a puppet. And a puppet with good intentions is still just a tool in someone else's hands. Strength begins when you decide that you no longer need to be liked, that you would rather be respected in silence than praised by fools, that you would rather be feared by the dishonest than loved by the weak. You stop shrinking your presence to make others comfortable. You stop explaining yourself to people who have never built anything. You stop reacting to every opinion, every insult, every comment, because your mind is not the public square. It is a fortress, and only a select few are allowed in. This kind of mental strength is not loud. It is not about shouting or dominating every conversation. It is silent, still, immovable. It shows in your ability to walk away without saying a word, in your refusal to beg for validation, in the way you don't flinch when others raise their voice, because you are not playing the same game. Most people are ruled by fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of rejection. But a strong mind embraces these things like training grounds. It faces discomfort, walks into conflict, and welcomes solitude. It doesn't try to escape the pain, it absorbs it, studies it, and turns it into fuel. And through that process, it becomes something others can't comprehend, something they talk about when you leave the room. Not because you were kind, not because you were polite, but because there was something in you that couldn't be moved, something that made them feel small. That is the true essence of fear, not terror, but awe. The unspoken realization that in your presence, they are not in control. A man who cannot control his emotions is not a man, he is a puppet. He is ruled by invisible strings pulled by the reactions of others, the fluctuations of his environment, and the inner chaos he never dared to discipline. And the world, like a patient predator, knows how to exploit this weakness. Emotional instability is not seen as a flaw, it is seen as a crack in the armor, a pressure point that can be pressed at will. Those who wish to manipulate you do not need weapons. They only need to provoke your feelings. If your anger can be ignited, your fear awakened, your ego stroked, they already own a piece of your mind. The terrifying mind is one that feels, but does not flinch. It does not react in haste. It does not beg for peace. It does not lose control in the face of chaos. Instead, it remains still, not because it lacks emotion, but because it has mastered it. Control is not the absence of feeling. It is the ability to channel those feelings into precise action, not emotional noise. The weak man screams, breaks, confesses, and regrets. The strong man observes, adapts, adjusts, and strikes when the time is right. Every society, every relationship, every power game you enter will test your emotional discipline. People will insult you, not always with words, but with tone, posture, implication. They will withhold validation, delay responses, question your competence, not because they have power, but because they're testing if you'll give it away. And the moment you react emotionally with neediness, frustration, insecurity, you've confirmed their dominance. Your emotions become their leverage, and from that point forward, your strength is an illusion. You can lift weights, speak loudly, dress like a warrior, but your mind is theirs. Emotional control is the foundation of real power, because it's the one battlefield you face every day. No enemy can defeat you unless your own impulses turn against you. Rage, jealousy, fear, desperation, these are not feelings to be indulged. They are wild animals. You don't kill them, you cage them. You feed them just enough to keep them useful, but never enough to let them roam free. Your rage can become your fuel. Your fear can sharpen your instincts. Your pain can shape your discipline, but only if you are their master. The moment you let them run your decisions, your voice, your posture, you've lost. You are no longer the strategist. You are the puppet. Consider how the world works. It rewards calm ruthlessness, not emotional chaos. In courtrooms, boardrooms, and war rooms, the person who keeps a level head gains the advantage. They see patterns others miss. They remain silent while others argue. They collect information while others reveal their entire mind under pressure. To be terrifying is not to be violent. It is to be unreadable. And to be unreadable, you must silence the emotional noise within. If others can predict what angers you, they can guide you like a dog with a leash. If they know how to guilt you, they can control your decisions. If they can shame you into apology, they can frame your character. That is how empires fall, not from invasion, but from leaders too emotional to see the traps being laid. You must become a master of your emotional environment. When you are insulted, respond with stillness. When you are tested, answer with unpredictability. When they expect outrage, give them silence. That silence, calm, cold, and controlled, will make them uncomfortable. People are used to predictable reactions. When you deny them that satisfaction, they start to question their power over you. That confusion is power. That unpredictability is control. Even in personal relationships, emotional strength reigns supreme. People will love you, but they will also try to mold you. They will expect emotional responses on demand, apologies, confessions, drama. But you must remain sovereign. Give nothing unless it is earned. Offer no confession unless it serves your plan. If you react every time someone demands it, your mind is no longer yours. It belongs to their approval, to their validation, to their emotions. And that is how men are broken, slowly, willingly, one emotional compromise at a time. A strong mind operates like a fortress. Thoughts come and go, but they don't shake the foundation. Feelings rise, but they are observed, not obeyed. Temptation appears, but is denied its grip. That kind of man, the one who walks into fire without blinking, who absorbs disrespect without flinching, who plans revenge with the patience of a hunter. He is not only respected, he is feared, because those around him realize they cannot manipulate what they cannot move. They cannot defeat what they cannot provoke, and they cannot control what they cannot understand. A sharp mind without a sharp edge is just decoration. Intelligence by itself is passive. It can read the patterns, understand the motives, and foresee outcomes, but without the courage to act with precision and cruelty when necessary. Intelligence becomes the tragedy of the weak. The world is filled with brilliant minds that are enslaved by fear, guilt, and hesitation. They know what to do, they see the truth clearly, but they lack the will to move forward ruthlessly, and so they become prisoners of their own wisdom, aware of the trap but unwilling to escape it. To build a mind that terrifies people, intelligence must be fused with strategy, and strategy must be fused with ruthlessness. Strategy means nothing if it doesn't lead to action, and action means nothing if it isn't calculated, cold, and carried out with finality. Ruthlessness is not cruelty for the sake of pleasure. It is the ability to eliminate what stands in your way, without flinching, without explaining, and without guilt. Weak men hesitate at the doorstep of necessity. Strong minds walk through it and lock the door behind them. People are taught that kindness is a virtue, and in some cases it is. But kindness without strategy is suicide. If you are kind to those who seek to exploit you, that is not goodness, it is stupidity. If you forgive what should be punished, if you trust what should be tested, if you show mercy where consequences are required, you are not noble, you are vulnerable. A mind that cannot enforce boundaries is not feared, it is exploited. A man who can think but cannot strike is merely a philosopher in a battlefield, and philosophers do not survive long among predators. Strategic ruthlessness means knowing when to cut ties, when to humiliate publicly, when to destroy a threat before it matures. It means seeing a weakness in another and knowing how to exploit it if it aligns with your goal. It means doing what others fear to do, not because you are cruel, but because you refuse to be weak. It is not about being heartless. It is about knowing when the heart is a liability. The heart can mislead, forgive too easily, hope too long. The mind, when trained to be ruthless, is not swayed by dreams. It acts based on outcome. It is focused on results, not feelings. In a world where survival depends on hierarchy, a mind that combines intelligence with ruthless strategy rises quickly. While others seek fairness, you seek advantage. While they wait for the right time, you create it. While they preserve relationships based on emotion, You cut off alliances that no longer serve purpose. You don't stay loyal to people, you stay loyal to power, because power sustains you. Sentimentality drains you. Most people want to be liked. They want to be accepted, understood, embraced. And in that desire, they become easy to manipulate. They hesitate to speak the truth if it might offend. They avoid confrontation, hoping peace will last. They lower their guard for people they feel are trustworthy. These are the cracks that ruthless strategists exploit. They smile as they read the emotions of the weak. They know what will trigger them. They know how long they can be milked. And when the time is right, they discard them without warning, because they never respected them in the first place. They were just using the softness of intelligent but sentimental minds for their own rise. If you want your mind to be terrifying, you must be unpredictable. Predictable minds are easy to defeat. If people know that you will always be the nice one, the forgiving one, the one who avoids conflict, then you are already conquered. You must become someone who can switch tactics instantly. One day silent, the next assertive. One day tolerant, the next unforgiving. Not because you are unstable, but because you are strategic. People should never know exactly what you will do. That fear of the unknown is the most powerful form of psychological leverage. Your ruthlessness must also extend inward. You must be ruthless with your own weakness. You must kill laziness the moment it appears. You must eliminate excuses without negotiation. You must starve your distractions and feed your discipline. If you cannot dominate your own mind, you have no right to dominate anything outside of it. The mind must be forged through self-violence, the kind that silences comfort, denies impulse, and embraces isolation. A terrifying mind does not rely on motivation, it relies on commitment. It doesn't need inspiration, it has necessity. And necessity breeds clarity. The most dangerous men are not those who act out of rage, but those who act out of vision. Cold, calculated vision. They move with precision, they cut ties quickly. They form alliances with purpose, not emotion. They protect their time like a fortress, and they are never ashamed of doing what needs to be done, not because they are evil, but because they understand. This world is not ruled by those who mean well, it is ruled by those who execute well. Intelligence alone is potential. Ruthlessness makes it real. The mind that terrifies is not loud, impulsive, or emotional. It is silent, precise, and far ahead. In a world where most people live moment to moment, reacting like animals to every emotion and circumstance, the powerful mind is playing a different game entirely, a long game. It is not concerned with immediate gratification, temporary praise, or the shallow rewards of attention. It is concerned only with positioning. It doesn't move for applause, it moves to dominate space, to control narratives, and to ensure that by the time others realize what's happening, the outcome is already sealed. That is the essence of thinking 10 moves ahead. It's not about responding. It's about dictating the entire board while others fumble over their next step. Most people are slaves to the moment. They are triggered easily, distracted frequently, and trapped in cycles of emotional urgency. They speak before thinking, move before planning, and react before understanding. This makes them predictable. Predictability is weakness. If your thoughts are based on current noise, then anyone who can manipulate your environment can manipulate your mind. But when you are operating on a higher timeline, one based on outcomes, not impulses, you are no longer responding to the present. You are creating the future. That is where terror begins. Not in aggression, but in the realization that while they were busy feeling, you were busy planning. To think 10 moves ahead is to detach from the illusion of now. The now is what distracts the herd, the argument, the insult, the public perception, the false urgency. But none of these matter to a strategist. He is already watching the ripple effect. He is not caught in the drama of the hour. He is focused on what the hour is setting in motion 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now. It's not about what happens today. It's about what today makes possible tomorrow. That shift in thinking is what separates those who are feared from those who are forgotten. The terrifying mind doesn't play for sympathy. It doesn't explain itself or offer public justifications. It moves in silence, and each move is surgical. It may lose a battle on purpose to win the war. It may appear weak, passive, or unsure, not because it is, but because illusions are more useful than truths. When you think 10 moves ahead, deception becomes a tool. You allow others to underestimate you. You let them speak too much, show their cards, celebrate prematurely, all while you're slowly closing the door behind them. They believe they're in control because you've let them believe it. And by the time they sense the trap, it's too late. The game was lost before they even realized it had begun. This kind of foresight requires emotional neutrality. If you are reactive, you are too slow. Anger clouds judgment, pride forces missteps, fear freezes action. But the one who observes all emotion without being consumed by it is the one who stays ahead. Most men live inside their feelings. Strategic minds live inside their foresight. They study behavior, patterns, and timing. They don't just look at what someone is doing, they calculate why, when, and to what end. Every interaction becomes data. Every conversation a reading, every reaction a revelation. People admire intelligence, but what they fear is foresight. They fear the one who cannot be provoked, the one who smiles while watching chaos, not because he enjoys it, but because he expected it. That kind of mind feels unnatural to them. It doesn't respond the way they expect. It doesn't rush to defend itself or rush to punish. It waits, it adapts, it selects its moment, because it understands something the reactive mind never does. Timing is more powerful than truth. A brilliant idea delivered too soon dies in noise. A correct response made too emotionally loses weight. But a simple move made at the perfect moment can undo months of effort from your opponent. This is why the mind that thinks ahead always wins, not through volume, but through timing. While others are chasing validation, the strategist is chasing positioning. He doesn't care who is right in the moment. He cares who ends up in control when the dust settles. While they argue for attention, he listens for weakness. While they panic under pressure, he breathes slower, because he knows that every situation, no matter how chaotic, is another opportunity to reshape the board. Even in defeat, he is calculating. Even in silence, he is advancing. People can't understand him, and what they don't understand, they eventually fear. Not because he has more strength, but because his presence bends time. His moves are too clean, his results too consistent. He wins without shouting. He punishes without raising his hand. And above all, he sees the blow long before it lands, and by then, he's already somewhere else. The strongest minds are never loud. The most dangerous men are never the ones shouting in front of the crowd. The ones who truly hold power do not need to prove it. In fact, they often go out of their way to hide it. This is the law of concealed strength. When you are powerful, act as if you are not. When you are calculating, appear distracted. When you are prepared, pretend to hesitate. Because the more predictable your strength becomes, the easier it is to defend against. But when it is hidden, when your mind cannot be read, when your full capability is a mystery, people make mistakes. They miscalculate, they get comfortable, and that is when you strike. A terrifying mind understands the psychological advantage of invisibility. Most people are desperate to prove their value. They advertise their intelligence, broadcast their emotions, explain their strategies. But in doing so, they reveal their hand, they become visible targets. They create expectations, and expectations can be managed, manipulated, and eventually crushed. But when you conceal your strength, no one knows what you are capable of. You are underestimated, misjudged, overlooked, and that gives you room to maneuver. It gives you freedom that powerful appearances cannot afford. To appear weak when you are strong is not cowardice, it is design. It is the art of drawing your enemy in. Let them think you are indecisive. Let them believe you lack ambition. Show them a version of yourself that disarms their instincts. Play the fool, lower your eyes. Ask questions you already know the answers to. Let them believe they are in control. And while they play with that illusion, you are already calculating how to dismantle them. This tactic is not for the insecure. It is for the disciplined. It requires swallowing the ego and letting others enjoy their imaginary superiority. But behind the mask, your true mind must remain cold and alert, waiting for the right moment. Most people fear being underestimated. The terrifying mind welcomes it, because when people think you're weak, they show you who they really are. They drop their guard, they expose their arrogance, they become careless, and in that carelessness, they reveal their patterns, their weaknesses, and their blind spots. That information is more valuable than gold. It allows you to strike where they least expect it because they weren't even watching. They thought you were beneath them. They thought you weren't paying attention. And by the time they recognize your strength, it's already too late. The deceptive mind doesn't seek credit. It seeks control. It's not concerned with applause. It's concerned with outcomes. Sometimes this means letting someone else take the spotlight. Sometimes it means losing publicly while winning privately. Sometimes it means letting an opponent believe they've beaten you, just so they stop watching you. Power is most effective when it is not met with resistance. And resistance disappears when others don't see you as a threat. So stop trying to be impressive. Start becoming invisible. This principle works in every arena: business, warfare, relationships, negotiation. When you walk into a room, don't announce your intelligence. Let your silence speak for you. Let others underestimate you while they reveal themselves. Never let your full capability be visible. People don't fear what they understand, they fear what they cannot grasp. Mystery, not strength, is what creates psychological dominance. When they don't know how you think, how far you're willing to go, or what your next move is, they freeze. That hesitation is your opening. A concealed mind is also protected from sabotage. When people know what you want, they can block you. When they know what you feel, they can use it against you. When they know your strengths, they can target your weaknesses. But when your thoughts are hidden, your desires unclear, your intentions fogged, they don't know where to aim. They are shooting in the dark while you are watching them clearly. That is not just an advantage, that is total control. Even when the time comes to show power, you must reveal it in fragments, enough to assert dominance, but not so much that they fully understand your range. Keep a part of yourself in the shadows. Let them wonder how deep your mind really goes. That uncertainty will spread faster than your reputation. People will speak of you in speculation, not fact. They'll warn others without being able to explain exactly why. And that is what fear truly is: not knowledge of danger, but the suspicion of it. To live by deception requires internal strength. It requires patience, restraint, and strategic ego suppression. You must resist the urge to show them who you are. You must become comfortable with being doubted, mocked, ignored, because every moment they dismiss you is a moment they expose themselves. And every moment you are silent is a moment you are gathering leverage. This is not weakness, it is warfare. Mental warfare fought through silence, through appearance, through illusion. Those who rely only on visible strength burn out quickly. They fight every battle, but the deceptive mind picks its battle, shapes it, and ends it before it even begins. The mind that terrifies does not roar, it whispers. It does not chase, it attracts. It does not react, it calculates. In a world ruled by emotional chaos, impulsive thinking, and hollow noise, the truly powerful rise through discipline, foresight, and quiet domination. They are not driven by the need to be liked, nor paralyzed by the fear of judgment. They have trained their emotions into weapons, turned their silence into strategy, and concealed their strength behind masks that confuse, disarm, and seduce. The man who becomes unreadable, unshakable, and untouchable, he does not ask for power, he becomes power, because the mind that cannot be controlled cannot be defeated. It is feared not because it threatens loudly, but because it moves silently and leaves no survivors. And in a world of exposed weakness and desperate validation, the most terrifying thing you can become is untouchable from within.